After playtesting Anubismon, I have to say this is probably the best deck to play for Nationals. Combing through all sorts of lists on Japan's end, there were so many different variations of builds at different top ends and with slight adjustments to ratios at the bottom end. Of which, out of all the ones I playtested, this one is arguably my favorite. Keep in mind that the restriction list is set to drop at some point in the next 24 hours, and while it may affect this list in the future, for Nationals, it will still be legal. As always, I'll go over the card by card, the strengths, the weaknesses, and of course, the combos. This deck runs 4 level 2s, 11 level 3s, 11 level 4s, 6 level 5s, 10 level 6s, 1 level 7, 11 option cards, and 0 tamers. The ratios are all over the place for this deck, but there were a few neat techs I could honestly agree with, and others I'm still kind of like, maybe. In regards to level 2s, Sunomon is arguably the best egg for this deck. In playtesting the moment you hit your top end Anubismon, if your opponent doesn't have a floodgate, every turn you trash up to 3 cards and play back any Digimon from your trash for a reduced cost. Because of Sunomon's inheritable, you don't have to attack, meaning you immediately get to draw when you trash a card. If you're running low on cards and are forced to attack, starter deck Sunomon is also an option, but remember, attacking can be risky. For your level 3s, this deck runs 11. 4 Ignitemon for that extra memory when you play a Digimon by effect, and also when you attack with this Digimon you can delete one of your other Digimon to delete one of your opponent's unsuspended Digimon with equal or less level than the deleted Digimon. Goblimon for its inheritable +1 memory when you trash a card in your hand, 2 Gazimon for memory blocking, and 1 Psychmon for stopping play cost reductions from happening. One reason why I only run 1 Psychmon in this build is because it's a double-edged sword. For substitutions, you could utilize EX5 Labramon. One reason why you wouldn't is because this memory gain is contingent on you playing a Digimon by card effect. While there are arguments you could run all of them, you do need floodgates to stop your opponents from gaining memory or playing Digimon in the mirror match. One thing I liked about Labramon in testing is that you can use to recycle your Shaman and Dark Animal trait Digimon. For level 4s, this deck runs 11. The level 4s are your most flexible lineup to tinker with. Frankly, you could reduce the Soulmon count and run 3. I only run 1 copy of Saberdramon as a tech, which will be released as a box topper for EX5. It has Raid and Retaliation. But for the remainder of my picks, I went with Dobermon with its inheritable Retaliation, and relatively cheap play cost along with 4 copies of Dobermon X. With Dobermon X, this Digimon on play gives one of your Digimon Retaliation, and when Digivolving, you draw 1 and trash 1 card. Though if you Digivolve off a Dobermon, you get to trigger that on-play effect. I went this route because I felt the Dobermon X is highly effective with setting up your trash if needed. Not to mention, an extra Digivolution yields you more card draw. For substitutions, Ogremon is another pick that I saw throughout Japanese lists. Much like Goblimon, you don't need to play a Digimon by card effect to gain memory, but on the condition you trash cards from your hand. Of course, there are other Retaliator Digimon that you could run in this level 4 category too, Dark Lizardmon being another option. Level 5s are interesting in this deck, but the commonality among all of them is 4 Blue Mervamon. This Digimon draws 2 and trashes 2 when Digivolving, giving you an excellent way to set up your trash. Like Ignitemon, you gain a memory when a Digimon is played by card effect, but that only covers 4 out of your 6. I also go with 1 Chimeramon for the DNA over your level 4s after you've done all your attacks. You could run 2 of these, but there are a few other purple level 5s that you can tinker with. The ones I tested with were EX1 Lady Devimon because functionally you have another way to gain memory and when Digivolving, trash 3 cards. Though you could go Lady Devimon route from BT3 if you want a more controlled discard. My avenue though went with Waru Seedramon, mainly because it has an on-plane when Digivolving effect as well. Not to mention its inheritable synergizes with your combo, assuming you were able to play a Digimon. Moving to level 6s, there are again a lot of flexible ways to play your top end. The main one of course, going to Anubismon. This Digimon has a when Digivolving effect, and main effect once per turn that lets you trash up to 3 cards from your hand. Then you may play any purple Digimon from your trash for its cost. When it would be played by this effect, you reduce the cost by 3, then 1 more for each card you trash. Its secondary effect has a your turn effect that when a Digimon is played by an effect, you delete one of your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, draw 1. This card is busted to all hell, but with this deck you might have a few other level 6s you could play. The first being Mervamon. Mervamon in my mind has a high contention of being restricted, that if it's not, it's gotta be Ignitemon. Mervamon on play when Digivolving lets you play one purple level 4 or lower Digimon, but simultaneously when you play this Digimon you can Digicross with a Digimon with Crossheart in its traits from your trash in order to reduce its cost further by 3. Effectively with Anubismon, your Mervamon after playing a Digimon becomes only one memory, and sets up multiple bodies on board. For your tertiary level 6, I personally have been enjoying Leviamon. On playing when Digivolving, if your opponent has equal or more Digimon and Tamers than you do, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level. Simultaneously, you then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest level. All turns when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, gain 1 memory each time. In one test game, I was able to delete not just 1, but 3 Digimon. 2 off the highest and lowest level, then a third off Anubismon's effect, effectively making Leviamon a 4-cost Digimon to play. Another substitution that I saw with other meta lists included Nidhoggmon for the trashing and memory gain. As for level 7s, I only run 1. The 2 options are Death Xmon and Shine Greymon Ruin Mode. Ruin Mode is great in some elements, stopping your opponent from promoting if they don't have enough high DP Digimon in the back that can survive the reduction. Otherwise, Death Xmon can also be utilized. These didn't come up with me often in testing, so I can't comment on whether they'll actually be effective. You could add another level 7, or just omit it completely. Since I don't run any Tamers in this build, the final thing to cover is option cards. For my variant of the build, I run 1 Calling from Darkness, an option card that lets me recycle certain Digimon. If Anubismon is sent early to the trash, I can fish it back out even if I don't have a Digimon in play for 1 memory. Purple memory boost at 3 copies is another common thing you'll see amongst lists, since you can dig 4 cards to find pieces. And of course, 4 copies of Wisdom Training for the reduced Digivolution costs. But for me, I really enjoyed playing Biting Crush. It can be an effective security bomb, but in the hand, it can also be a dead card. The Biting Crush variant after discussion with some players is definitely a greedier build, and some players choose to omit this for other cards instead. This option card when it triggers lets you trash 1 card in your hand to delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon. If a card with 7 Great Demon Lords and its traits was trashed, you place this card into the battle area. As a result, if your opponent plays a Digimon by card effect, aka the mirror match, you can bring out Leviamon from your trash to handle Anubismon. Strengths and weakness wise, this deck has one major flaw. The problem being that you reduce play cost and you play Digimon by card effects. While you have ways to mitigate floodgates in Digimon form with other Digimon, you have no counter strategy in the case your opponent plays Crimson Blaze. Additionally, while you are able to play a body once per turn after trashing up to 3 cards, this deck has no protection whether it be battle or by card effect. Losing your Anubismon stack is arguably going to set you back a turn. But strength-wise, once you set up a single stack, you can really do some damage in regards to playing out a Digimon, depending on the scenario. If your opponent goes wide, Leviamon is a great option to pluck from the trash. If they play by card effects, even better. With Mervamon, this gives you your optimal way to attack your opponent and also set up a defense in the case of Retaliator blockers. My variation of the deck that I've shared today is a very greedy version of the deck. In discussion with content creator Huang0, running multiple Biting Crush is removal, but can be a brick. If it's hidden security, the Digigods have blessed you, but drawing multiple in a hand can honestly set you back. In my test games, one test was even against D-Reaper, and since all of my effects are level based, that game became a game of attrition. Thanks, Tomo Israel. Despite having Saberdramon, the other issue stemmed from the fact that Mother D-Reaper is unaffected by card effects, so even if I raided into her, nothing's going to happen. Combo-wise, when drawing your first opening hand, your objective is to build into your curve as quickly as possible. Because if you can put out Anubismon by turn 3, you'll basically accelerate into a board state that your opponent has to deal with. Ideally, you'd like to Digivolve into Goblimon. This Digimon is better utilized than Ignitemon because your opponent can't block you from trashing cards, though memory floodgates can still be a problem. For your level 4s, this doesn't really matter, remember, you can adjust your ratios differently so that you can utilize Ogremon as another Digimon that could gain you memory. I like Retaliators to offset my opponent from raiding into my other stuff, especially if double Soulmon is out. And of course, Blue Mervamon for your level 5. Once you Digivolve or promote out with Anubismon with no floodgates, it doesn't matter if your trash has the cards because you can trash them from hand. Though it is recommended to have some other Digimon already in the trash. Because you can play Mervamon to build an explosive board, cross with Ignitemon, then play 2 Soulmons. You have instant Retaliators, Rush Blockers on board. But that's not all. Even if your opponent removes the Mervamon, you can do it again next turn. After playtesting this deck, I have to say Anubismon is the deck to beat. It is extremely fast, but can also control the board. Generally, what are your thoughts on the deck? What techs do you want to play with, and what are some other ideas I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thank you very much for all of your support. Next week, I probably will be taking a week hiatus. After all, even creators need a break on Christmas. And to those who don't celebrate it, happy holidays from the Panda family. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.